Hello and welcome to Hippo Entertainment's RPG page. Today we will be investigating the Cleric and seeing what is the difference between them in D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition. I am your host Hippo HQ, so let's grab a cup of tea, open your prayer books and let's look at the Cleric class. Clerics were one of the first three classes in the original D&D book alongside fighting men and magic users. They were a hybrid of the magic user and fighting man, using all the armour of the fighter, with some of the spells of the mage and their health right in between. However, they were limited to non-edged weapons and their spells were limited to only healing spells and only up to level 5. This is also where the turn undead feature came into practice. In AD&D, you then had the priest class. This gave you your abilities and your level ups. Then it was split off into two categories: the cleric, a priest of the deities, and the druid, a priest of nature. This is where the ideas of domains came in. A cleric's deity would have a major domain and some minor domains, usually around 3, as well as a favoured weapon. The major domain would let you cast up to 7th level spells in that domain, and the minor up to level 3. They still didn't have access to the same high level magic that mages had, and once again you could only use bludgeoning weapons unless their deity allowed it. Then came 3rd edition, and the cleric was once again its own class, with spells right up to level 9. The domains now gave an ability with access to extra spells from other lists. They were no longer limited to blunt weapons, but now all simple weapons. Once again, this did depend on the deity's choice. This is also where the idea of substituting a spell slot to allow extra healing came in, and also a refinement of the turn undead ability. Now we know the history of the cleric, let's have a look at what the cleric brings to the table. Clerics can be broken down into two different groups: the warrior priest fighting alongside fighters, barbarians and champions, and the learned priest tending to the needs of others from the back lines. Warrior priests can usually wear heavier armour, use more advanced weapons, and can often be seen sporting a shield with their deity's symbol emblazoned on it. A warrior priest will generally rely on more buffing spells for the front line or debuffs for the enemies. They will have spells prepared like Bless, Bane or Spiritual Weapon. A learned cleric relies more on spells for protection and slightly weaker AoE spells for controlling the battlefield while healing from afar. While good clerics tend to destroy undead, evil clerics are often seen using their magic to create or control the undead. Necromancers can often start their lives as clerics for an undead deity, such as Urgotha and Micrel. Now we can have a look at the cleric within the two different systems. Pathfinder has maintained a strong link to the deity with what special ability the domain gets, extra spells, skills and the deity's favourite weapon. Where D&D has removed the link to the deity and gone in the direction of the cleric choosing the domain, which grants similar abilities but removes the feeling of serving something greater than yourself. So, when building the cleric, both clerics start with 8 hit points plus your constitution modifier at level 1. D&D has a light armour, medium armour and shields, where Pathfinder clerics only have unarmoured training. Both start with simple weapons, although any Pathfinder cleric will also have their deity's favoured weapon. Both classes start with the religion skill. D&D offers one of either history, insight, medicine or persuasion, whereas Pathfinder offers one based on the deity chosen, plus 2 including your intelligence modifier. Both casters are wisdom-based spellcasters, meaning you add your proficiency and your wisdom to the spell attacks and the save DCs. Pathfinder has the Divine Font ability. This lets you cast Heal or Harm if you're an Evil Aligned cleric, once plus your Charisma modifier per long rest, letting you heal or harm others without having to sacrifice a spell slot. Sadly, D&D has nothing here. Domains, deities and doctrines focus the cleric onto a set path. Both systems handle this differently, but both have access to the paths at level 1. D&D has what is called a divine domain. Pathfinder does have domains, but this is relating to their deity, so we'll get into that a little later on. D&D has all up 15 different domains, each changing the way your cleric plays by giving them a list of different spells at level 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. These spells are always prepared and don't count towards your cleric's spell limit. At level 1, new abilities. This varies greatly, but is not limited to a single ability. Level 2, Channel Divine option. This lets you take your Channel Divinity ability and do something different with it depending on your domain. Level 6, 8 and 17, different level abilities. As we are going to be building 2 clerics in both systems, let's have a look at the 2 domains that we'll be using and see what they have to offer. So the Death Domain Cleric is a villainous type evil cleric found in the Dungeon Master's Guide. The spells you get at first level are False Life and Ray of Sickness, 3rd level Blindness or Deafness and Ray of Enfeeblement, 5th level Animate Dead and Vampiric Touch, 7th level Blight and Death Ward, and 9th level Anti-Life Shell and Cloud Kill. They also give you a couple of bonus abilities. They'll first give you a bonus proficiency with martial weapons. This ups the amount of weapons you can use effectively in combat. And the Reaper ability. At first level, the cleric learns 1 necromantic cantrip from his or her choice from any spell list. When the cleric casts a necromantic cantrip that normally targets only 1 creature, the spell instead can target 2 creatures within range and within 5 feet of each other. This is pretty major, as a couple of real powerful necromantic cantrips exist, such as Chill Touch and Toll of the Dead, which we'll be using later. At level 2, you get your Channel Divinity of Death Touch. Starting at level 2, the cleric can use Channel Divinity to destroy another creature's life force by touch. When the cleric hits a creature with a melee attack, the cleric can use Channel Divinity to deal extra necrotic damage to the target. The damage is 5 plus twice the cleric's level. So at level 2 this will be 4 plus 5 equaling 9 necrotic damage on a Channel Divinity attack. At level 6 you get Inescapable Destruction. Starting at 6th level, the cleric's ability to channel negative energy becomes more potent. Necrotic damage dealt by the character's cleric spells and Channel Divinity options ignore resistance to necrotic damage. This means any creature that is resistant to necrotic damage, doesn't matter, you're still hitting it. Level 8 you get Divine Strike. At 8th level, the cleric gains the ability to infuse his or her weapons with necrotic energy. Once on each of the cleric's turns when he or she hits a creature with a weapon attack, the cleric can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage to the target. When the cleric reaches level 14, this damage is increased to 2d8. This isn't a Channel Divinity ability, and it's not limited to once per day. This is an always-on ability. And at level 17 you get Improved Reaper. Starting at 17th level, when the cleric casts a necromancy spell of 1st level through to 5th level that targets only 1 creature, the spell can instead target 2 creatures within range. This is effectively the same as your Reaper ability, but it works with spells 1 through to 5. Now we can look at the Life Domain. The Life Domain spells are Bless and Cure Wounds. This is part of the cleric's spell repertoire. However, it means you can have these spells always readied without having to waste prepared slots on them. At 3rd level, you get Lesser Restoration and Spiritual Weapon, 5th, Beacon of Hope and Revivify, 7th, Death Ward and Guardian of Faith, and 9th, Mass Cure Wounds and Raise Dead. You also get the bonus proficiency of Heavy Armour, very handy to stay up front in the battle. Also, starting at level 1, your healing spells are more effective. Whenever you use a spell of 1st level or higher to restore hit points to a creature, that creature gains additional hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. Level 2, your Channel Divinity is Preserve Life. Starting at 2nd level, you can use your Channel Divinity to heal the badly injured. As an action, you present your holy symbol and evoke healing energy that can restore a number of hit points equal to 5 times your cleric's level. Choose any creatures within 30 feet of you and divide those hit points among them. This feature can restore a creature to no more than half its hit points maximum. You can't use this feature on undead or constructs, so this ability will basically let you get 10 hit points and divvy it up to heal a whole heap of your allies all at once. Level 6 you get Blessed Healer. Beginning at 6th level, the healing spells you cast on others heal you as well. When you cast a spell of 1st level or higher that restores hit points to a creature other than yourself, you regain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. Very handy at tanking and staying up front in the battle zone. Divine Strike. At 8th level, you gain the ability to infuse your power strikes with divine energy. Once on each of your turns when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 radiant damage to the target. At 14th level this goes up to 2d8. This is very similar to the Divine Strike of the Death Domain. I believe all domains have some form of Divine Strike. Supreme Healing, starting at 17th level, when you would normally roll 1 or more dice to restore hit points with a spell, you instead use the highest number possible for each dice. For example, instead of restoring 2d6 hit points, you simply restore 12. So as you can see, the Death Domain is all about death, controlling the undead, and making the living dead. Whereas the Life Domain is all about keeping people alive, doing extra healing, and making sure you can stay up front on the battle, doing what you do best. Deities. D&D has multiple deities spread over many different worlds and races within all the different spheres of the multiverse. Each deity has an alignment, suggested domain, and symbol. The settings books, such as Sword Coast Adventures Guide and Eberron Rising from the Last War to name a few, have more information about the local religions. Pathfinder also has access to a whole different pantheon, filled with many different deities. Each deity gives you the following benefits. A divine font, either harm or heal, but sometimes both, however you can only choose one. A divine skill, this will be your second skill proficiency. Favoured weapon, you gain access to this weapon as if you had training in it. Domains. Each deity has 4 domains from a list of 55 different domains available. Each domain comes with a level 1 domain spell and a level 4 domain spell accessible at level 8. Cleric spells, a list of other spells you have access to. These spells are not always within the divine spell list. Edicts, how you should live your life. Anathema, what you cannot do in life. Avatar form, the ability to become the living avatar of your deity upon the world. And boons and curses. All major deities in the core rulebook also have boons and curses from the gods and magic book, granting their clerics who live up to their edicts a bonus, and those clerics who break their anathema a curse. Now I can see why D&D has reduced the link to deities. There are so many worlds out there in the D&D lore that they have moved the deities to this deity will work well with these domains, and for the non-player handbook domains, this domain works well with these deities. In saying that, Pathfinder has a fairly well-defined set of rules for creating your own deities. Let's have a look at Torag, the lawful good dwarven deity, also known as the father of creation and the god of the forge, protection and strategies. Okay, so he lives in a realm called Forgeheart, that is the dwarven heaven. His worshippers are dwarfs, guards, hunters, miners and smiths. His temples are battlefields, castles, cathedrals, caverns, forges, fortresses and warehouses. He has the sacred animal of the badger. His sacred colours are gold and grey. Divine abilities constitution or wisdom. His edicts will be honourable and forthright, keep your word, respect the forge and serve your people. Very good for a dwarf. His anathema is telling lies or cheating someone, intentionally creating inferior works, and showing mercy to the enemies of your people. So his clerics will get the following benefits. His divine font is heal, divine skill is crafting, favoured weapon is the warhammer, his domains are creation, earth, family and protection, and the cleric spells will be at 1st level mind link, 3rd level earthbind, and 4th level creation. Now we can have a look at the neutral evil goddess called Urgathua. She is the Pallid Princess. She is the goddess of death, disease, gluttony and the undead. Her realm is Bloodrot, next to Abaddon. Her temples are cathedrals, crypts, feast halls and graveyards. Her worshippers are gluttons, necromancers, sabirites and the undead. Her sacred animal is the fly. Her sacred colours are green and red. Divine ability is constitution or wisdom, and her edicts are become undead upon death, create or protect the undead, and sate your appetites. Her anathemas are deny your appetites, destroy the undead, or sacrifice your own life. And her clerics will get the following benefits. Her divine font is harm, her divine skill is intimidation, her favoured weapon is the scythe. Her domains include indulgence, magic, might, and undeath, and her cleric spells get 1st level goblin pox, 2nd level false life, and 7th level mask of terror. So on top of your deities, Pathfinder lets you go down 2 separate paths called doctrines. These define what type of cleric you are going to be, a war priest or a cloistered cleric. These will give you abilities at level 1, 3, 7, 11, 15 and 19. A Cloistered Cleric offers you no extra armour or weapons, but gives you access to more spells in the form of focus spells relating to your deity's domain, as well as better spellcasting abilities. Your first doctrine is you gain the Domain Initiate Cleric feat. This lets you choose one of your cleric's domains and get the domain focus spell from it. Second doctrine is a proficiency rank with fortitudes increase. Third doctrine, your proficiency rank with divine spell attack rolls and DCs increase. Fourth doctrine, you gain expert proficiencies with your deity's favoured weapon. Fifth doctrine, your proficiency ranks for divine spell attack rolls and spell DCs increase to master. And your final doctrine is your proficiency rank for divine spell attack rolls and spell DCs increase to legendary. The War Priest focuses more on battle and getting better weapons and armour, with better physical attacks at higher levels, but weaker spellcasting abilities. Your first doctrine is you are trained in all light and meteor armour, you have expert proficiency in fortitude saves, you gain the Shield Block General feat, a reaction which lets you reduce damage while holding a shield, and if your deity's weapon is simple, you gain the Deadly Simplicity Cleric feat. At 13th level, if you gain the Divine Defense class feature, you also gain expert proficiency in light and medium armour. Your second doctrine is you are trained in all martial weapons. Third doctrine is you gain expert proficiency in your deity's favoured weapon. Fourth doctrine, your proficiency ranks for divine attack spell rolls and spell DCs increase to expert. Fifth doctrine, your proficiency rank for fortitude increases to master, and when you roll a successful fortitude save, you get a critical success instead. And your final doctrine is your proficiency rank for divine spell attack rolls and spell DCs increase to master. So you can see the War Priest gets better access to weapons and armour and better fortitude saves. However, their spell attack rolls and spell save DCs can only get to master, and if they want to access their deity's domain spells, they have to sacrifice some other class feat to get it. The Cloistered Cleric, however, does not have access to all the advanced weapons and armour, neither do they have the same level of fortitude saves. However, their spell save DC and attack rolls are legendary, and they automatically get access to their deity's domain spells. As said before, both clerics use wisdom as their spellcasting ability. This means they take their proficiency bonus and their wisdom score, add them together, and that is their attack roll. For their spell save DC, they take their proficiency, their wisdom, and add either 8 for D&D or 10 for Pathfinder. The difference, however, is their spellcasting slots. For D&D, the cleric gets 3 cantrips, which slowly improves over time. Pathfinder, they start off with 5. D&D uses the new type of spellcasting, where prepared casters can prepare the amount of spells equal to their level plus their spellcasting ability. They also get to prepare all their domain spells without having it count to their limit. This gives clerics with a 16 wisdom 6 prepared spell slots at level 1, 3 for wisdom, 1 for their level, and 2 from their domain. They then get 2 spell slots within to cast their prepared spells. At high levels, they can also cast any lower levels prepared spell at a heightened level just by sacrificing a higher level spell slot. This gives great versatility as they can upcast for free, or if they have used all their lower level spell slots, they can still cast a lower level spell just by using a high level spell slot. Pathfinder keeps with the old way. You get a limited number of spell slots and can only prepare from their spell repertoire. If they think they will need to cast a spell twice, then they actually have to prepare it twice, costing 2 spell slots. Also, if they want to cast a spell at a higher level, then they have to first memorize the spell at the higher level, and then prepare it in a slot at a higher level. I really hate this rule, and that actually stopped me playing anything other than Sorcerers and Divine Souls in 3rd edition, and before that I kept with Thieves. I do not like this particular rule, and I'm so glad D&D changed it. There are so many other systems out there, and in the end I homebrewed some rules to compensate. That video will be coming. Finally, we can talk about the feats for level 1 clerics. Unless your doctrine allows it, you don't get it. Simple as that, talk over. But wait, humans in D&D get a level 1 feat, and Pathfinder humans also can choose an ancestry feat giving you a level 1 class feat. So, if you are a human, let's look at the best ones for you. In D&D, there are many feats. However, these are the ones I've picked which I think are the best for clerics. Magic Initiate. This adds 2 more cantrips and 1 first level spell from any single class. You can use this to give yourself 1 more level 1 spell slot and 2 more cleric cantrips, allowing you to have 5 cleric cantrips and 3 spell slots at level 1, or you can splash out into another class with cantrips like Mage Hand or Eldritch Blast. Meta Magic Adapt. You can gain sorcery meta magic options and get 2 sorcery points to augment your spells. Spell Sniper. Ranged spells now have twice the range and ignore cover. Telekinetic. A level 1 increase to a primary stat and the Mage Hand cantrip, plus you get to shove people down with your mind. What's not to love? Warcaster. This is a must for any caster. You get advantage on concentration spells, as well as the ability to cast while having a weapon and a shield in your hand, and attacks of opportunities with spells. As I said, a must for any caster. It's not so much if you get it, it's just when will you get it. There are a wide range of feats available for clerics. You just need to work out what one suits you and what one best fits your playstyle. The Pathfinder feats are Deadly Simplicity. So this is the feat that war priests get, and basically if your deity's weapon is a simple weapon, you increase its damage up by 1 dice. So a dagger, instead of doing 1d4 damage, now does 1d6 damage. This actually combos well with a deity that favours the staff, as you can use that weapon as a weapon, doing higher damage with it in melee, as well as using it as your spellcasting focus, and when you get magical staffs, you can actually get it to store spells in. Domain Initiate. Choose 1 domain from your deity's list and get the level 1 focus spell from it. Cloistered clerics get this free for first level, but if you're a human, you can actually choose this twice and get 2 level 1 domain spells from your deity. Harming or Healing Hands. Your harm or heal spells now roll a 1d10 instead of a 1d8. Holy Castigation and Vile Desecration. Basically, you take your healing spell and it can damage fiends, or you take your harm spell and it can damage celestials. Reach spell. This increases your range spells by 30 feet and your touch spells by 30 feet. However, it doesn't really combo well with harm or heal. And Premonition of Avoidance. Basically, you get a bonus on save and throws versus hazards. So this is a nice range of feats available, and depending on your playstyle or setting, some of these can be extremely beneficial. Now, to properly judge the system, we actually need to look at characters, not at statistics on a page. So we're going to build 2 completely different clerics in both systems. One cleric will be a life cleric, and the other a death cleric. So meet Dougal Bittercoat. He is a dwarf favouring warhammers, heavy armour and shields. He will be a life cleric. Basically, he'll be up the front in a battle, either whacking the enemy as hard as he can, using his divine magic to smite the enemy with powerful spells that augment his weapons, or giving general buffs to his allies and keeping them alive on the battlefield. And now, meet Krell Doombleeder. She is a death cleric. An evil, villainous cleric who is trying as hard as she can to subvert death and basically live out her life in glorious darkness. So let us take a look at the builds. First we'll go through the D&D Life Cleric. Okay, so Dougal is the cleric of Berinar Truesilver, the dwarven goddess of hearth and home. He is a gruff old hill dwarf acolyte who follows the life domain. His stats will be a strength 14, dexterity 12, constitution 14, intelligence 10, wisdom 16 and charisma 8. He will have proficiency in history, insight, medicine and religion. His dwarven heritage will give him dark vision, resilient to poison, knowledge in stone cunning, proficiency in the battle axe and most hammers, and extra hit points per level, and his domain will give him heavy armor as well as doing more healing, i.e. 2 plus his spell level extra. So the equipment I'll be giving him will be a heavy chainmail and a shield while wielding the warhammer with a crossbow as backup. This will give him an attack bonus of +4 and an AC of 18. Not a great attack, but an extremely good armor class for D&D, letting him pretty much stay right up the front of the battle. Let's have a look at his spellbook. His cantrips will begin with Guidance, giving one ally an extra d4 on an ability check, Spare the Dying, stabilizing a dying creature, Word of Radiance, an AoE radiant damage spell. And his level 1 spells will be Bless, AoE bonus to attacks or saving rolls, Ceremony, a ritual allowing him to atone, bless, dedicate, bury and wed others. This is more for flavour. Cure wounds, it's healing, what else do you need to say? Detect magic, another ritual for finding magic around. Divine Favour, weapon attacks now do more radiant damage. And Guidant Bolt, a large amount of radiant damage to a single target. As you can see here, Dougal can stay up the front of a fight, keeping his friends alive with the spells like Spare the Dying and Cure Wounds, as well as buffering them with Bless, Guidance and Divine Favour. He can also deal damage to his enemies with Words of Radiance and Guidant Bolt. Finally, he has 2 rituals in the form of Detect Magic and Ceremony, adding more RP flavour to the character. Now we can look at the Pathfinder Cleric, who is also called Dougal Bittercoat. He is a Death Warden dwarf who was raised in the Church of Torrig and became a war priest. His stats will be Strength of 14, Dex of 10, Constitution 14, Intelligence 0, Wisdom 18, and Charisma 12. And he will be trained in Athletics, Crafting, Torrig Lore, Medicine, Religion and Society. His Dwarven heritage will give him Dark Vision, Stone Cunning and Resilience to necromantic effects. His Doctrine lets him don on heavy armour and use shields, while his faith in Torrig lets him use the Warhammer and gives him access to the Heal Divine Font. His equipment will be medium breastplate armour, a shield, a Warhammer and his clan dagger. This gives him an AC of 17 normally, but a +2 when he raises his shield. He will also have an attack roll of +5. Once again, pretty good armour for Pathfinder and an okay attack. His spell choices will be, for his cantrips, Disrupt Undead, Damage Undead with positive energy, Divine Lance, throw divine energy based on Torrig's damage. He can either choose lawful or good. Forbidden Ward, protect an ally against one specific enemy. Guidance, Divine Guidance to improve one roll. And Stabilize, a target dying creature loses the dying trait. His level 1 spells will be Bless, strengthen allies' attacks in an aura around you, and Magic Weapon, making a weapon temporarily magic. His Divine Font will give him 3 lots of healing per day. So this version of Dougal is still a decent tank with an okay attack, who is able to bolster his friends with spells like Forbidden Ward, Guidance, Bless and Magic Weapons, as well as doing a decent amount of magical damage to chaotic or evil creatures with Divine Lance, and to the undead with Disrupt Undead. He has no healing spells as he relies on his Divine Font for healing. So, who done it best? Well, I like the spell options Pathfinder has. I don't have to prepare heal spells to still be of use to the party. And the cantrips are way more powerful. However, it is let down by the ability to only prepare 2 first level spells, or if we wanted to cast Bless twice, we'd have to take it twice. D&D I think is let down by the fact that to heal, I must sacrifice a spell slot. I also like the options D&D has for armour and weapons, giving them a slight edge in combat. So I'm going to leave it up to you. Tell me in the comments, who do you think is the better dwarf? Now we can look at the Dark Cleric. Meet Krell Doombleeder. This is an old, vile, evil, villainous cleric suspending her life through necromantic powers and dark magic. She will rely on damage-dealing spells with stealth and illusion to get out of trouble. She'll also have Intimidate to strike fear into the hearts of her enemies, and will try and raise an army of the dead to serve her. For D&D. In D&D, we have chosen the variant human. She is a hermit cleric of the Death Domain, worshipping Micrel, the god of death. Her stats are Strength 12, Dexterity 14, Constitution 8, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 16 and Charisma 14. She will have proficiencies in Intimidation, Medicine, Perception, Religion and Stealth. She has the spell Sniper Feat, giving her 1 extra cantrip, but letting her target enemies from afar and ignoring cover when they inevitably try and hide from her. Her domain also gives her the Reaper feat, giving her access to another free cantrip from the Necromancer list, not usually found in the Clerics list, as well as anytime she casts a Necromantic cantrip targeting just a single creature, she can actually target a second one. With her proficiency in medium armour, she'll be wearing breastplate, giving her an armour class of 16, without the disadvantage of stealth. I know it costs a lot, but we're having fun creating a character, we're not worrying about money here. She will also have a proficiency in martial weapons, so I've given her a glaive. This is about as close as I can to a scythe, so let's just say it is a scythe-shaped glaive. She has no other weapons as she prefers to rely on her necromantic cantrips. So her spell list is Chill Touch. This is what she gets from the Reaper ability, as it's not usually available to clerics. This is a very long range with Spell Sniper, dealing damage to 2 creatures with the Reaper ability and then debuffing them. Resistance. This will give her an extra d4 on saving throws. Why would she want to give it to someone else? She's selfish like that. Sacred Flame. She can set those who hide from her on fire, sowing fear into their hearts. Thaumaturgy. More sowing fear with minor miracles such as making the flames brighter and changing colour. And Toll of the Dead, massive damage dealing to weaker enemies. Once again, she can cast this at longer range and target at 2 creatures. Her level 1 spells will be Bane, debuffing enemies who get too close. False Life, giving her extra HP. Fog Cloud, this creates a mystical fog to both hide from and to scare others. Inflict Wounds, doing large amounts of necrotic damage to a single target. And Ray of Sickness, poisoning the enemy and damaging them, giving them dots, i.e. damage over time. By combining spells such as Sacred Flame and Thaumaturgy, she is able to use Intimidation to her advantage, especially useful in RP encounters. She's also able to do massive damage from afar with Chill Touch and Toll of the Dead to multiple targets at once. And finally, the Pathfinder Cleric. So she is actually a human Dampire half-breed. So in Pathfinder, Dampires are the vampires. She is hoping to extend her vampiric life through necromantic magics. She is a cloistered cleric of the goddess Urgathoa. Her stats will be Strength 10, Dexterity 12, Constitution 10, Intelligence 12, Wisdom 18 and Charisma 16. She is trained in Deception, Intimidation, Cultic Lore, Occultism, Religion, Stealth and Survival. Urgathoa grants her the Undead domain and training in the Scythe as well as the Harmful font, and her heritage will give her the Harming Hands feat, meaning that the harm spells now deal 1d10 negative damage. Her Dampiric Eyes give her low light vision and negative healing, which means she can actually use her harm spell to heal herself. And her human side lets her pass as a cleric from another religion when dealing with those who would probably rather burn her at the stake if they knew what she truly was. With the low dex and no armour capabilities, she prefers to stay out of combat, but if it comes to it, she still has the shield spell and a scythe granted to her by Urgathoa. This is her spell list. Cantrips will be Chill Touch. Her touch hurts the living or disorients the undead. Daze. Damage a creature's mind and possibly stunning it. Divine Lance. Throwing divine energy that damages based on Urgathoa's alignment, which will be evil, so she does extra damage to good aligned creatures. Prestidigitation. Performing minor magical tricks. And Shield. A shield of magical force that blocks attacks and magic missiles. Her level 1 spells will be Animate Dead. This lets her animate the undead to fight on her behalf. And Ray of Enfeeblement, sapping a creature's strength. Her divine fonts will be 4 uses of harm. This will be upgraded to 1d10. She can also use this to heal her undead minion or heal herself if she needs it. And the focus spell Touch of Undeath. This attacks the target for necrotic damage and weakens its ability to heal. So at first level, she can actually have an undead minion. However, this is a 3 cost to cast, and she must maintain concentration on it, so she can't actually have 2 of them up at once in combat without getting something like fast casting. But for clerics, this comes at level 10. However, with her harm font, as stated before, she can actually heal it, and and heal herself, giving her access to a decent tank as well as decent range damage to her enemies or tricking their minds with daze and prestidigitation. So, who done it better? Once again, I think this is too close to tell. I love both builds. D&D is more upfront and in your face with fear-inducing spells, and the ability to do damage to multiple enemies from afar, whereas Pathfinder is more a secretive necromancer who hides in plain sight and can summon undead. I don't really know who wins it, so I will let you decide in the comments below. But now the final verdict on both of them. Who do I prefer the most? For hit points, based on just the straight cleric, they're exactly the same. However, Pathfinder, you also get some hit points based on your ancestry, so I will have to give this one to Pathfinder. Defense. D&D has light, medium armor and shields, whereas Pathfinder, unless you choose the War Priest, you have absolutely nothing, so this has to go to D&D. Okay, for weapons, both systems use simple weapons, however you can get a lot of flavour out of your Pathfinder's Deities' favourite weapon. So I might have to give this to Pathfinder simply because, you know, I love walking around with a scythe if I want to be a necromancer. Skills, I actually think D&D kind of has a bit more range here. I know Pathfinder you can choose everything, however to be locked into a skill based on your deity, I mean if I don't want to be the party crafter, well I'm stuck with crafting if I worship Torrig, so it kind of just feels like I'm forced into something I really don't want to unless I really want it. However, that still does add flavour, so I don't know, I think I might give this one to D&D. Spellcasting, I'm sorry, I've said it time and time again, in fact I'm going to make a whole video on it soon. Spellcasting goes to D&D. I really do not like Pathfinder's spellcasting. And your domain versus your deities and doctrines, this is a hard one to judge. I really like, all the 15 domains you have in D&D are really nice. I quite like how they feel, I love, they are very good, but they don't offer you as much choice. Whereas the deities and doctrines, I think the doctrines themselves don't add much choice, simply because you get abilities at this level, the same as domains. However, you can be so versatile with your deities. In fact, the Gods and Magic book added the ability to worship multiple deities or to have other domains within your deity. So it just feels like you have more choice, you have better options, you can be more of a cleric than you can in D&D, so I'm going to have to give this one to Pathfinder. So by that count, it actually ends up as a level 1 character to be a draw. Pathfinder and D&D are both amazing clerics. If you're just starting out in the hobby and want to create your first character, I would recommend creating a cleric. They are fun, they are versatile, they are full of flavour and personality, and they're just a great character to have, plus everybody needs a healer in their party. So the final word in this particular episode does have to go to my son Zachariah. So Zachy, what's your favourite saying?
On my foot.
On my foot? Okay, well there you have it everyone. On my foot is today's saying. If you like this video, then please like, share and leave a comment. If you have another topic you'd like me to cover, write that down in the comments and I'll look into that for you. But thank you for watching, please subscribe as that's the best way to help grow this channel, and you can also support this channel through Patreon and joining us at Discord. So, thank you very much and farewell.